Yeah, what's going on? I had to switch my phone. You already know the routine, but I left off talking about Bala when my other phone cut off. But yeah. So now I'm finna step in because I don't really want to talk low. But yeah, Bala, his son, the son of Ali Fulin. Shoot, yeah, his son Bala. He wanted to be, or he suggested for his son Bala to be the governor of Benga. Now, when I was reading about this on Wikipedia, they were saying at the time it was considered a very, if not the most prestigious area, very prestigious position. And so some of his sons, as far as Askia Muhammad's sons, felt some type of way about it. One in particular was Musa. So, plus, he felt like his father was becoming like unfit to rule because he was becoming blind, which is also one of the reasons why Ali Fulin was so close to him in the first place, because he helped him out or whatever. So, Askia Muhammad's son decided to have his father ousted, and he did it August 15th, 1529, and took the throne away from him. And it was supposed to have not been a real big fight. They wrote that it was a bloodless coup, but he still ended up fighting some of his brothers and killing about 25 to 35 of his cousins, as the numbers says. And then from that point, let me see, 1531. But I want to get the date correct. I believe it was April 12th. Because after he had his father ousted, he didn't kick him out from it. You know what I'm saying? He had him. He was still living in Gayo. He didn't have him killed or anything like that. He just had him basically inactive. But 2 years later from that point, 1531 is when he got killed, I believe. Yeah, he got set up by his brothers. And they killed him. And it was April 12th, 1531. From that point, Muhammad Benkin became the next Shia that very same day, and he ruled for about 6 years. 6 years. Now, as far as Muhammad Benkin, he ended up having a Shia Muhammad sent from Gayo to an island called Kangaba. So I guess it's within the Niger River or whatnot. And, he had a little campaign that he went on as well. As a matter of fact, this is the perfect time to make this correction. The guy, Muhammad Kati, is actually Muhammad Kente. But, the way it's spelled, it could be Kanta. But I believe it might be Muhammad Kente just because of, Kunta Kinte, the way Kunta Kinte's name is spelled. And I understand you got the Mandi language and all that type of stuff, so it might be a difference, but that's how I'm going to assume it's Muhammad Kinte. But anyway, that's when he ended up fighting against that guy, but he lost or whatever. That was the Battle of Watar Masa that I had mentioned before. So after Benkin lost, that's when he was ousted as a Shia. And let's see, after him, Shia Ishmael became the next ruler. So that was only for about 2 years, from 1537 to 1539. He went on some military conquests as well, like it was a place called Garma. I'm not sure if Garma is another thing that's similar to the Mosi people of Gago or Ouagadougou of Burkina Faso. I'm not sure if Garma is interchangeable with either one of those names that denotes the Mosa people of northern Burkina Faso, or if Garma is slightly different but is also located there as well. Now, Shia Ishmael went on a campaign against those people, a guy by the name of Baka Bulu or Bula, and they ended up fighting against or whatever. They lost a lot of men, about 900 horsemen, but they succeeded in killing that guy and then taking some of their commodities or whatnot. Shortly after that, he ended up let me see, did he die? I know Askia Ishak became, actually, yeah, I think yeah. Actually, as far as Askia Benkin, yeah, he was ousted. He was set up in the village of Mansur. Come to think about it, that's how Askia Ishmael became the next one. But as far as Askia Ishmael, he died that same fucking year in December, actually, of 1539. After he died, that's when Askia Ishak became the next ruler. It was something else I forgot to mention. It's not too much of a big deal, but I think it's I forget. It don't matter. Askia Ishak became the next one. He ruled for about 10 years, 1539 to 1549. Now he was one that had a little, slight conflict, you could say, with one of the Moroccan kings, who I'm gonna flesh out really soon in a second. His name was Muhammad Al Araj. Now Muhammad Al Araj was one of those Moroccan kings. He actually is the uncle of Ahmad Al Mansur, but he's relevant from fucking 1517 to 1544. But as far as like during this period in the early 1540s, he was ruling in, well, he had kind of got kicked out from where he was ruling at, which was Marrakesh, and he went to Sijil Masa. But I get into that history in a second. But as far as at this point, with being a contemporary to Askia Ishak in the early 1540s, Muhammad Al Araj sent a request for Askia Ishak to, I guess, give up Tagazi, or, pay taxes or something like that. And the way that Askia Ishak responded, which I thought was, I thought it was a good response. He just basically sent like a cavalry of 2,000 men on horses north to Morocco, but at the southern portion, a valley called the Dara Valley. And he gave specific instructions for them not to kill anything, but just kind of like, shake shit up a little bit, which is exactly what they did. That was their response to show their military might, you could say, kind of like a warning, like we're not pushovers. To me, based off what I read, that was like the most notable thing as far as him. But 1549, I believe he passed away, and that's when Askia Dawud became the next Askia from 1549 up until 1582. Now I want to pause right there. This is when I want to go into the Moroccan history. Now, as far as like the Saadians, that's the dynasty that Ahmad Al Mansur was a part of. But just to give a little bit more background leading up to him, it really starts from 1510. The first ruler of the Saadian dynasty, his name was Abu Abdallah al-Qawm, and he ruled for about seven years. It was a civil war at this point. You had three main entities. You had the Wattasids, the Saadians, which is again where Ahmad Al Mansur comes from, and then you had the Portuguese in Morocco. These three main factions was at play and at war with each other. Now, at this point, the Portuguese had bases established. As I mentioned earlier, the first base that they had established was in Safi. That was in 1488. The second one was at a place called Agadir. That was in 1505, and then the other place was called Azamor. That was in 1513. These are the bases that they had established. Still keep it in mind that they had none, well, aside from the one in Ghana, in southern Ghana, as far as like the Elmina castle, that was in 1482. I spoke on that before too. But as far as like within the Malian provinces or the Songhai provinces, they had none of those established. So they were more so like settled in Morocco and at war with them or conflict with them. Now, as far as Abu Abdallah al-Qawm, he gets killed, or he dies in 1517. When he died, that's when his son well, both of his sons, Muhammad Al Araj, the guy that I mentioned that threatened Askia Ice Shack, him and his brother Muhammad Al Sheikh. You had basically both of them, and they were going against the Watch. They were continuing the war against the Portuguese, really, and the Watchisids. The Watchisids and the Saadians eventually came to a, understanding. They developed a peace treaty later on, but like before that was in like 1527. But just before that, around 1524, the year that Muhammad Al Araj conquered Marrakesh, it was understood between the three. You can call them three sultans at this point because let me see. Muhammad Al Araj became the Sultan of Marrakesh. His brother Muhammad Al Sheikh was the Sultan of a place called Tarodont, right, which is near Sousse. And then the leader of the Wattisids, he ruled in Fez. Now it was understood that they recognized the guy that ruled in Fez, even though he was a part of the enemy. But by 1527, after a major battle that occurred, I believe it was called the Battle of Wadi al-Adib, that's when they established boundaries as far as between the Wattisids and the Saadians. So things was all right for a little second, but then I want to say after 1536, based on what I read, that's when Muhammad Al Araj and his brother Muhammad Al Sheikh began to have conflict with each other. Keep in mind, the whole time they still fighting against the Portuguese at the same time. So this conflict resulted in a war. And as far as Muhammad Al Araj, he attempted to side with the Wattisids at this point. And, they still ended up getting defeated by Muhammad Al Sheikh. Not only that, Muhammad Al Sheikh ended up beating the Portuguese and taking many of their bases, the main bases, like Agadir, for example, the base that was established in 1505. It was at the most southern point of the western coast of Morocco. So it was close to, it was like a route to the, overall Sahara trade. And it was a location that was considered valuable even by the Saadians at that, before that. As I read, like between 1513 to 1525, Muhammad Al Sheikh and his brother was hesitant to attack it. But as far as Muhammad Al Sheikh, he ended up taking it in 1541. He took both Agadir, Azamor, and Safi. And then not even years, but by 1549, he had taken Fez and Asila, and another place fell in line the year following that in 1550. Now, as far as Muhammad Al Araj, he had died 4 years before that.